Hey guys, for this unit, what we're going to be looking at is the difference in dynamics of having a fan page versus a Facebook group because it's a completely different, and we're going to talk about a number of things of how a page differs in management, dynamics, content, and specifically like what you use one versus the other. I think this is a topic that most people ask about, and it's what's the biggest difference between as a business or as a community owner having a page versus a group. And so I think the first thing that's important to realize is that the biggest difference between one and the other is that one is for sales and the other one, I would say, it's for like a value first approach, right? So in a fan page, what you're trying to do, if you look at a fan page, it's more about sales, right? Yes, you can build a community within your fan page, but it's very different than having a group, right? Within a group, what you're doing is you have a much more closeness with your community. You can interact with your members, right? You could do a lot more with them. And so one of the biggest things that I think differs a fan page versus a group is that for a fan page, what you're doing is sales and promotions, right? So you have products, you have an e-commerce site, you're a retailer, but it's all about sales, right? Versus a Facebook group, what you're trying to do is you want to build value first. And that's key. And that's something that we talk about all the time in our communities and the Facebook community leadership circles as well is it's value first approach, right? You want to do that first. The second thing I would say that is big is how do you communicate with any users, right? With a fan page, I would say it's like a two-way communication. You basically you push content out, and that's it. People interact with it. You can basically, people can comment, you can interact with them. And that's basically it. But with a group, what you're doing is like a multiple way communication. And what this means is that the community itself is interacting with each other. Like it's not just a fan page or a business with specific people, but what you're having is a network of people interacting with each other. And I think that's key because one, it just gives you more engagement, it's more personal, and the same community curates the content, right? There's less spam, and they just build up the value that they're interacting with. So what this means is that instead of you just pushing content out as a fan page within the community, the same community can publish content. They know what they want. So you're having better interactions within your community, and that builds just like a more network effect in the sense of like your content engages more, viralizes more, just because more people are interacting with it. The third thing I would say, and this is big, is that you're talking about openness versus closeness, right? So anyone can look for your fan page, they can search it, they can find it, they can interact with it, they can basically go here and like it or follow your fan page. But with a group, people have to join it, right? Yes, they can find it, but you can have a private group that people have to join. And I think that is key, especially now with Facebook, because you can basically curate and moderate your content better and just have a better interaction within the different users that join. Why? Because you can ask three questions that we talk about this, and we're going to talk about it in other lessons as well. You can ask them to leave more information about them. You can get to know your community better. So it's not just like a like or a follow, but people have to request to join. They have to answer questions. So what I think is you're closer to your community. Why? Because you just understand better what their needs are. So that's a big difference between having an open fan page versus a closed Facebook group. The third thing, I think it's content. How can you control or moderate and I would say alleviate and have less spam within your group, right? With a fan page, there's really no control because what you're having is basically you posting content, people interacting, commenting on it. Yes, you can moderate it in a sense of like you can block keywords, but it's less controlled, right? Like yes, people can publish it and you can block it, but with a Facebook group, what you have is a better control of the quality of the content that's being out there, right? Why? Because you can approve it, disapprove it, you can block users. With a fan page, you can't, and that's important because people can just spam you. They can write stuff that it's not necessarily beneficial for your community. With a group, if someone is saying something insulting, using bad words, you can basically block them. So there's more control of the quality that you can have of the content, and that just builds a better community for your business or for your NGO, or your organization, basically. The other thing is, I think you have to differ between what a user is, right? So you have Facebook users. For a fan page, what you have is likes or fans. But with a community, with a Facebook group, what you have is members. And I think this is a big distinction, because you're talking more about a community. And I think we go back again to community a lot, because I think that's what Facebook groups is all about, is how can people support each other? How can people find each other that have similar interests, right? So you're talking more about members, and not just a like or a fan, like someone that's following you just for a follow, but you're really talking about people that will interact with your content, that will build a network and help each other out. The other thing is like brand product versus specific topic, and I think this is key. Yes, you can see a lot of groups that are built for products or brands or software services, for example, like SaaS services. But mainly, when you build a fan page, you're building a fan page for a brand, for a product, for a person. But what I've seen that works the best for Facebook groups is topics. It works a lot better, because what you're bringing together is what's the similar, what's the similarity, or this thing that they all have in common. And so with a Facebook group, what you're looking at is what are different topics that people can interact with. So what you're having is a closer community than a fan page, just because it's not about a product, right? Again, it's about value first. And what builds value first is topics, not necessarily brands, but topics. So what I've seen is that a Facebook group usually works better if you're starting it as a topic more than as a product or a brand. And that's, I think, a big difference between a fan page and a Facebook group. The other thing is, I'm sure ads are coming for Facebook groups, but most of how you build your fan base or your brand within a fan page today, it's really with paid ads, right? You have to buy ads in order to get reach. Organic reach for content from a fan page is all-time low. And so you're basically going for payments, for paying ads to get fans, to get build your brand within Facebook. But with a Facebook group today, because you can't add, right? You can't generate ads for your Facebook group. You're really relying on Facebook search engine, but most of it for word of mouth, right? Like, you want to have people within communities that interact for similar topics to talk to each other, even outside of Facebook, and talk about your group. And so this is key, because the growth of the group, it's more organic, and I would say it's more natural, right? In the sense that people will look for you because other people with similar interests are talking about your group. And so your growth is more built on word of mouth and not necessarily on ads as a fan page. And I think this is a big difference of, again, why we go to the first topic that I talked about, and it's value first. Like, you want to build value first, because that will get you good word of mouth. You're not selling products, you're not selling software or services. It's not about buying ads. It's about building the word of mouth to get a better response. And I think the last thing is, I don't want to be so cynical, but I think a fan page is dead. Like, the future is really about communities. The future is about how to build value first. And I think the future, and we'll talk about it more in other lessons, is our Facebook groups, right? Why? Because the content is better, engagement is better, you have a better quality of members, right? You can moderate it better because you have a closer community. And so the whole experience online within Facebook is much better within Facebook groups than a fan page. So yes, you can still build a brand with a fan page, but you can build a much better community within Facebook groups. And so I think the future for Facebook, a big push for it, is going to be Facebook groups. And so that's why we're spending so much resources in just helping you understand better how to leverage those groups. And so groups and pages are radically different. And so it's key that you understand the difference between one and the other. You understand how to use them wisely and just stay ahead of the curve. I think again, the future of Facebook is Facebook groups. So hopefully this lesson help you better understand the management dynamics and just the overview of a difference between a fan page and a Facebook group. So see you next lesson.